Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call to order this public meeting of the Board of Johnson County Commissioners on this 8th day of June 2020 at 3:00 p.m. If you care to, please pray with us and we'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Bow with me for a moment of prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today with grateful hearts. Appreciate this wonderful weather we've been experiencing here in the last few days. Dear Lord, we just know that you're the answer to the perils and problems that are prevalent in today's society, and we just pray that you'd be with us. And Lord, I just want to thank you for the people of Johnson County and their common sense approach to what we've been witnessing here in the past few weeks. Bless those people, keep them safe. Let our judgments and decisions be in their favor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2020-0-3. Us?
I can do it. You recall, Sheena Johnson, county attorney. How much have I been doing? Been almost a year. You recall, Mr. Mauser was in your last meeting and presented a resolution from the Needham Fire Protection District, basically asking you to amend the ordinance that created the Needham Fire Protection District to exclude certain parcels that would be taken over by the city of Franklin Fire. And this ordinance is what would accomplish that. I'll note that I have made a change since your packet went out in the last whereas clause, so that the city of Franklin will immediately provide fire protection coverage of the subject area upon passage of this ordinance. So there's no gap because the annexation isn't set to take place till later this summer.
I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Parks and Rec, Indiana Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund grant.
She is.
She keeps complaining.
She's part-time custodial today.
Megan Bowman, superintendent. I'm here to kind of ask forgiveness on the deadline on this one. We submitted, it was due on June 1st. So we have applied for this already. The board was kind of waiting and seeing how everything was shaken out the last few months to see if we still wanted to apply for this, and it also affected our request amount. So we requested $100,000, so that's a 50-50 match. So it would be $50,000 on us. But as you see in the form that I submitted, our plan is that most of that will be force account labor, which will be volunteer labor through Job Corps and staff labor on the Parks Department. So we think the cost to us will be much less than the $50,000 match.
Do they match the grant for whatever you spend, or is it just a $50,000 grant that you would receive?
It's reimbursable, yeah. So it's 50%.
It's just 50%. So if you spend 30, they're going to give you 30.
We have to spend $100,000.
Okay.
So those two projects was the camp store, or the campground that exists, and then the bike playground, which we've been trying to accomplish for a few years. And we have $10,000 there from a grant from the Johnson County Community Foundation from 2 years ago that we can use in addition. That's part of the match.
Move for approval. Second.
A motion and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and that was a ratification.
Thank you.
Are you going to stay, Megan, or are you leaving?
I'm the same.
Because I got some questions on claims.
Okay.
Thank you.
I bet you I know what they are.
Planning and zoning.
I like it, Dave.
David Hill, Johnson County Department of Planning and Zoning. One item, Mr. Reagan Hobbs is here in the room. He has filed a rezoning petition. he has requested a waiver of fees at our recommendation. He can't do that, only the commissioners can do that. And I kind of sent a little paragraph explaining what's going on. I don't know if you need much elaboration from me, but Needham's been a problem for a long time. The whole thing's zoned commercial. It's all residential, so anytime somebody wants to do something in their house, an addition, a new garage, they have to get either variance or rezoning. We tried to do the mass rezoning 4 years ago and just set the town on fire. They did not want to do that. They did not trust us. So in lieu of that, we're just kind of piecemealing it. And I think it makes sense to reimburse Mr. Hobbs' filing fees.
Well, it kind of depends, was he's one of the ones that disagreed with the mass.
He was not in town at the time.
Okay.
He acquired the private property afterwards. We checked that.
So this basically avenue that you're taking is an easier avenue than trying to rezone the whole.
Well, the man that led the charge against the rezoning last time, his son has come on the scene and wants to lead the charge to do the rezoning. He said, we tried once and failed miserably. If you can do it, we'll still offer the same thing, mass rezoning, no charge. So he's in the process of trying to make that happen, but he's not there yet. In the meantime, Mr. Hobbs wants to build a garage and a porch. And we don't think he should have to pay for a variance.
I grant the waiver.
Have a motion and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Good luck with that. Highway Department.
Good afternoon, Luke Maston, Highway Director. We received a call, maybe about a week and a half ago. Take a look at the leaning tree on Airport Road with some concerns that it had deteriorated or posed a risk of falling into the road. We reached out to an arborist, actually ultimately a master arborist, to come out, do an inspection of the tree, and the intent at that time was to set up some periodic inspections, maybe every 6 months or every year, to keep an eye on it. Based on the initial input that we received in the field, the arborist had some major concerns about the existing condition of the tree, in particular the rot within the trunk at the base of the tree. So we made a decision on Thursday, the day the inspection was done, to go ahead and close the road to traffic while we waited to receive the final inspection report from the arborist. As of right now, we still have preliminary report information from that arborist. We're still waiting for the detailed report. In addition to that, Megan Bowman with the Parks Department actually reached out to Purdue, and there was coincidentally another master arborist in the state that just happened to be coming to Franklin this morning. So he took a look at the tree too and provided his assessment. His assessment listed basically a high risk for a portion of the canopy, the top of the tree, falling, but the overall condition of the tree and the concern of it falling into the road, he identified as low risk. So right now we're waiting the final detailed inspection report from the first arborist. We have the inspection report and assessment from the second arborist, and we have two different opinions on the tree's current condition. So as of right now, that is everything that we know. I know that there was some concern when we closed the road that we were going to go in there the next day and cut the tree down. I assure you that was not our intent. Our intent was just to mitigate a risk, potential risk, based on the information we had available at the time on the tree's condition. So situation is still fluid. There are no plans or recommendations from the highway department to remove the tree. Where we stand right now, I would recommend keeping the road closed while we await the first detailed assessment. At that point, we will need to obviously review those, try to determine why we're seeing different conclusions, and then ultimately try to work through those and see if we can get a consensus from the arborists on the tree's actual condition.
How long?
Well, I was just gonna say, at first, a happy haircut.
Yeah,
Get
I
that
thought
out.
you might like that.
And looking at the gravitropic response in the canopy and the age of that compared to the trunk of the tree, I was just wondering what made the tree lean like that, and I noticed that power line, and I just wonder if years of pruning that on that side where the power line is created a weight variance that made the tree lean. Or does anybody ever give you an opinion on why it's leaning?
No, and there's a lot of different stories just that have been passed down from people. You see a lot on social media or that just gets shared. That tree's obviously been there for a long time, but we don't know the specific age. It's my understanding it's been leaning all that time, and I'm not sure that the trimming caused that. If it's as old as we think it might be, it was there well before the power lines were. There's also, for example, there's some inconsistencies as to whether it's one tree or two trees, based on the arborist that looked at it in the field. He believes it's actually one tree. It has a pretty long split on the road side of the tree. Goes up about 12 feet, but it looks like it's one tree and not two. So we don't have good historical information. We just have stories and information that's been passed down over the years. We ultimately don't have a good idea of how old it is. We just know it's pretty old.
So are you planning on going ahead and pruning off those dead limbs that they referenced?
So no matter what happens, the dead limbs and the canopy have to be pruned. No matter what happens with the rest of the tree, that was definitely a high risk finding in one of the arborist reports. The bigger issue is just going to be, once we get the second detailed assessment, trying to review and understand why we're getting different
Artworks drastically different. Well,
They are.
Concerns me a little bit.
It does, and I mentioned that we've had two master arborists look at the tree. There are not very many master arborists in the state.
We have to find a third one.
We may have to, but that's the highest certification for an arborist in the state. And so I'm confident that we have people who know what they're looking at the tree. So we may have an issue of maybe one noticed something that the other didn't, one way or the other. Those types of things we'll need to work through once we've got both the detailed assessments.
And my question would be, are we paying both of these individuals, or are they donating their time?
The one from Purdue, I've not seen an invoice on. I believe that is donated. Megan would probably have to speak to that. Yes, so that one's free. We reached out to a pretty reputable tree company. That was our initial contact and set up the initial inspection. So I would anticipate there's a cost for that service because we requested that from them. We did not anticipate receiving information concerning the condition potentially being as bad as it was when we set up that inspection, that initial inspection. Like I said, if you look at the tree from the outside, it still looks pretty solid. But there is quite a bit of rot in the base, and we had no intentions of this being as big a deal as soon as it has, we assumed that there was probably quite a bit of time left in the tree, which is why we're going to set up periodic inspections going forward.
Okay, how long is it gonna take to get the full assessment from the other arborists?
The best I can say is I reached out to them again today, just to see when we can get a timeline on when that assessment is ready. My intent is to share both of those assessments, once we have both detailed assessments, share that with the public. But
Well, but I think if they're gonna be conflicting, we're gonna have to do something different.
oh, yeah, we are. Exactly what that is good. I can't determine that until I've got the full assessment report in hand. Most likely, I think I mentioned, we'll reach out to both of them, try to figure out what discrepancies there are in the two assessments. Maybe potentially try to get some consensus from both of them, or a better understanding of what they came up with. So, but again, as of right now, we have no plans to cut the tree down, remove the tree. We'll still keep the road closed while we try to work through the assessments and hopefully come to a conclusion with some consensus from the
And
arborists.
is there a possibility for those two arborists to talk together to figure out?
Maybe on
most-
site, maybe meet on site, that'd be a crazy thing to do.
Well, most likely that's what I'm going to push for. But I'm saying that it's contingent on what I see in the second report. But obviously they came to two different conclusions, so we need to figure out the reason why.
You hear horror stories, and Sheena and I talked about one of those today, where trees have fallen on vehicles and killed people. And that's one of those type of trees that could happen. As big as it is, as close to the road as it is, so we need to really make sure we make the right decision.
Well, and that decision needs to be based on facts. So ultimately, it will largely be guided by whatever we get out of the assessment reports.
Which may take a third party.
It could potentially, but I think the key is that we make the right decision. And we make sure we've got the information that we need to do that. This is not something that we take lightly. Moving the tree is not something that we would propose unless we had assessment reports that recommended that's what needs to be done. So while we continue to work through that, we'll obviously provide updates one way or the other based on what we hear.
Knowing sycamore trees, since I have a multitude of those on my property, some old, big sycamore trees. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That's what we need to determine is when, because those old American sycamore trees are going to fall eventually, as they are on my property. And I don't care what you do.
The concern is something that you can't see from the outside. It's what's happening on the inside.
And they're prone to that, the rot from the inside. Correct. Just, I had an arborist look at some of our trees. I wanted to see how long we had in them, because they're some pretty big trees. He was from the south, though, southern Indiana. I don't know where these two were from.
We purposely didn't contact a tree company within Johnson County. Not that we wouldn't trust their opinion, but if we were going to potentially end up in a situation where Johnson County landmark were going to be impacted, we didn't want to put a local company in the middle of that situation. But we reached out to a pretty large reputable firm on our end, and then obviously having an expert from Purdue take a look at it too is great as well. So we ultimately will end up with very good information. We're just going to have to sift through it and try to determine what the differences are in the assessments, at least based on what we're anticipating receiving.
What's the duration of the road closure?
Indefinite, based on the press release that I put out last week. So
I haven't driven down that road for 2 years under that tree, ever
I've
since the
already-
Michigan thing.
I know it is a main thoroughfare.
Yeah.
So,
It is.
Not for me.
We're fortunate that we do have Nineveh Road a mile to the west that can handle traffic while this closure is in place too. We certainly wouldn't want to keep the road closed any longer than we have to. I would absolutely not make a recommendation to open it until we've got a good handle on the actual condition of the tree based on this assessment.
Well, then I think there needs to be some signage put up, like the one recommended about the tree.
But also, coincidentally, we had just ordered a replacement sign, the 11-foot sign that just came in about 2 weeks ago. So we didn't have any intention of taking the tree down. In fact, we were going to update the signage. So, but yes, we would make sure that it's signed properly if it's determined that it's safe to stay in place for the time being. But trees don't live forever. So,
And the fact is the report said under normal conditions. Let's see what happens with some storms that we may have come through.
yeah,
We gotta keep an eye on all that. That's all we make a determination on that tree.
in the last, honestly, probably 5 or so years, it seems like we've had more and more trees next to the road that just have been dying over time. There was a drought a little earlier than that that could have been part of that, but it seems like the number of large trees that we've had to remove within the last 5 years has been a lot more than we used to. So they don't live forever. We'll be doing our best based on those assessments to try to take our best guess on how long it might last. But just due to the angle that it grows, it's held just fine for now, but it will reach a point where there's enough interior decay in that trunk that it will not be able to support it.
The problem is you don't see that.
I know. If you look at it from the outside, it looks okay. But there's a lot of decay and a lot of
It could have been hit by lightning too, one time maybe across that split, if there is a split in there. Because they're so big.
yeah, that split is about 12 foot tall from the ground. So anyway, that's everything we know. I mentioned in our press release, we intend to be upfront with everyone. I remember that tree from growing up around here, and any decision to remove or modify it is not one that we take lightly. We'll keep everyone up to date with information as we go.
Well, you have different routes there. You can get around that Denver Road, Roxbury Road, so there's plenty of diversion there for them.
And short term, that, yes, we definitely have the infrastructure there. We obviously would want a long-term closure here, which is why we'll work to come up with that recommendation as quickly as we can. So,
I'll move to continue until we get more information.
Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you very much. Do you like my haircut?
I do. It looks a lot better than the bed head you came in with last time. Just saying. I'm just jealous because you have hair. Yeah. You want to do that now? Yeah, Luke, while you're here, I do have some conversation if you want to come back in. I was with Mayor called me today on my first day back from vacation, decided he wanted me to take a ride with him to go look at things around Frankfurt.
You're back all right?
And it took a while. Yeah, I did make lunch, I know that. But the one thing that we did go look at was the bridge on Forsyth and North King, on King Street, North King Street there. And there is some really deterioration going on there. The guardrail keeps falling down because of that deterioration. And also, you can see that the one culvert is starting to egg and go down because there's a gap that you can see over the top of it. That area's always been a problem, and I know you're probably aware of that. But what he was asking is maybe we could work on a combined project there where they could supply the engineering and the repaving, if we can put in one bigger culvert and do that. Is that something we can look at?
It is. It's an interesting location. It's actually 3 culvert barrels, but it constitutes a bridge based on the total span. The culverts themselves have been in okay shape for a while. Where we've seen issues is in between the culverts with settling.
And that's what's happening right now. It's actually even a void.
And that's common in situations where you have multiple culvert barrels. In fact, we try to avoid that forward. So structurally, the pipes have been in good shape, but the overall condition and the fact that there's multiple barrels create road problems.
You can put your foot on a guardrail, just shove it anywhere you want to shove it. I mean, it's just so ate out down there.
Our biennial bridge inspections are actually done in July. My recommendation would be let's let the bridge inspector take a look at it in July, see what recommendations they have. It may have deteriorated more in the last 2 years, which might be causing some of the issues that you mentioned. I'd say that'd be a good starting point, is to get his inspection and assessment.
And that all that debris washes up there and gets caught in between those two things, and then get flooding going over the road. I think if we had one bigger culvert under there, or passageway, even in concrete or whatever, it would stop that from happening, so we wouldn't have water flooding over that road every time we get a good rain. So there's a lot of positives.
Yeah, there is, and you've identified the second major problem with multiple barrel structures is exactly that. They catch debris, and
There's 2 big logs right there right now. We haven't even had much rain here lately, so, and they're cleaning them out all the time. So I see his concern, and I told him that a lot of the other stuff we looked at, there's nothing that we can really do about it. But
well, and
this is one of them we can't.
that's why I'd like to at least get the inspection in hand. It may have deteriorated more in the last couple of years. It may have reached a point where, regardless of the city's concerns, it may need to be put on
Well, and then, I think you take into factor too, the flooding over the road, because it can't handle all the water, and also the getting clogged up. I think all those need to be a factor in that. So those are issues that are structural guys probably not going to look at to get into those issues. So, I want to get that to you, and thank you, Tina, for reminding me.
Anything else?
That's it, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you want to talk about bike racks. No. Building access, north annex, and that's basically the locked door that we have there
Yeah,
now.
it's
We still have the door locked on the Vasia or the Casa Veteran Affairs side, so I think it's probably
Yeah,
something
but I
to
think
lock
by
that.
appointment. It's by appointment only for veterans.
And they can
Candy's
still,
here, I don't know.
and they can still maintain by appointment only if that's what they want to do. It's not, that's not going to change unless, and you have an opinion on whether that door stays locked or.
My hope is that it gets unlocked.
Yeah, in Veterans Affairs, they were doing appointments only before we locked it. In fact, they started, so I don't think it would be an issue there, or if we had any, like, anyway, no, I don't think it is. Basically, we would just need
I move to open the north annex.
a motion second to open the north annex, east door, northeast door.
One is locked.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. That was easy. Acceptance of Delta Dental Pandemic Relief Program funds. It would be ADDPRPF for short. Because everybody wants to do that.
Well,
Just thought I'd be the first one to say it.
I think the discussion is how to remit that back to the employees who pay that. I thought a simple way would be just to not bill them for 1 month of their dental service. Now, that's probably not gonna be exactly penny to penny, but it'd be close enough. It might be a simple way for the auditor to do it. You have a comment on that, ma'am?
No, not without talking to our third party to see how our system would handle it. But I think the biggest question is, do we give it back?
Exactly, yeah, I
Do we
think
give
the
it back to the employer?
topic for you guys to decide today is what to do with that money.
Yeah, well, I move to give it back.
In whatever fashion works.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm good
Right.
with that, yeah, I mean,
Auditor's
I think
office can make it work.
either or, just skip a month billing.
Well, that's
Still the
what
same
they'll
thing.
have to decide is how to make that.
We'll figure out how to
We'll
make
figure out how
it
to do
work. Yeah.
I'm seconding that.
Yeah, that's, I think the bottom line is we just want to make sure it gets.
Yeah, do you want me to clarify it a little bit? Sounds, we got a refund from Delta Dental on the premiums for the month of April, I think.
I believe yes.
I believe it's April. So we got a credit, and the motion is that that money be returned to the employees who paid it in.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
That's his motion.
Perfect.
Is that your second?
That's my second.
I have a motion and a second as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New and old business claims.
Health Department,
Ooh,
there was a
Lucky
claim
you.
for Haas Law Office for $716.65. I'm just curious.
I can answer that. He's their attorney.
Huh?
He's their attorney.
He's actually the board attorney.
The Board of Health.
The Board of Health, from what I understand, it's through state statute and how things are written, and we must maintain a attorney on our Board of Health, and he gets a retaining fee for that.
So that's just a fee for attending meetings or what?
Well, no, we can bill him, for, like, a lot of times negligent, when people don't pay their food fines and,
Okay.
stuff like that, then he'll go after them for those reasons, so we keep him on retainer to pay for those, instances.
And then Megan, are you out there? Under park operating expense, and $125 for Big Woods, $50 for Bozini's, and $250 for Mallow Run Winery.
We went
Somebody had a good
crazy,
time.
I'm kidding. Mega Bowman Parks.
you had a good time though, right?
Yeah, totally. Those are refunds, that were given back to those vendors that participate in our events.
Okay,
Beer and wine vending, Rosina's Pizza, it was pizza at the Sparks in the Park, so those are all refunds, so not.
I kind of thought maybe that was, but then I thought $50 for Bozini's, that's not much of a fee up front, but okay, well.
Yeah, I apologize, we should have been more clear on the
No, that's
description.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
I got
For the
one.
sheriff.
I got one.
Yeah. For the sheriff?
No, not for sure.
Hey, Sheriff's had a tough month. Let's leave him alone.
I'm leaving sheriff.
I'm trying to protect you. Well, that's true too, yeah.
A year and a half. I don't know what Doug Cox did when he was sheriff.
I'm losing days and weeks right now. It's pretty amazing.
I'm still looking.
I bet it was a clothing expense.
Grant money return for $17,406 with WIC.
I can answer.
Hey.
As you
Can you
know,
put that in question form? I
Yeah.
feel like this is Jeopardy.
every grant has certain stipulations. If you don't use the money, what has to be done with it? And this has been excess funds that were not used, that's been in this fund for a long time. So the grant was pulled, we contacted the state, and the only option that was given for that money was it had to be sent back.
So that,
So-
okay. I kind of assumed that, but
That's
I
how
just
it
wanted
goes.
to.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's written in every.
Use it or lose it
Yep.
mentality that we have in government, and
Usually
there's
they
just
have a
something
certain
wrong with that.
period.
You know, we don't reward people for saving money, we penalize them for saving money, so I don't understand that at all.
Well, then they turn around and won't give it back to you again if you don't spend it, so.
It's just
doesn't make any
unbelievable.
sense.
You know what I would do to reward those people is roll that into their next budget and allow them to use that money as necessary, knowing that those type of people are gonna be respectfully using those funds. It's allergies. But anyway, that, you know, you reward people for doing what's right, you don't penalize them. for doing what's right. But anyway,
Yep, that's
I'm
good.
gonna
That
stop
answers-
there.
That answers that question.
Commissioners' minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second, any further? Oh, we didn't approve claims.
I don't think you did.
Let's go back.
Ron? you
Hold
need to
that,
make
hold
your-
that thought.
Huh?
You moved to approve claims?
Okay, wait.
You leaving?
Yeah, get ready to. I'm
I
packed
will
up.
find something.
No,
You have a long public comment today.
You can show, that's kind of a misconception that most board members have. They think if they weren't in attendance, they couldn't vote or approve. It meant they can. You don't have to be in attendance to move or approve, so.
But you still have to approve claims.
Yeah.
So we didn't approve.
That's what we're waiting for.
You didn't move.
I went to all that trouble.
We appreciate the lesson.
You know, you didn't move though on the claims that you normally do, so that's what confused this thing. So
I moved.
I have a motion second to approve claims. It's just, you never know. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Now commissioner minutes. Now that we had that explanation,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Before we go to public comment, I do have one thing I need to talk about. I know you're wanting to leave.
No, I just thought we were getting ready to adjourn. That's one inside papers. I see Chief Bell's out here.
He had a death grip on that bag, staring at me. Ann's Restaurant, they have a lot of people are riding bikes now. We're getting a lot of bike rides. In fact, if you try to go buy a bike right now, you probably won't find one, because it's like cars and vehicles. You can't find any. I know Bradley didn't have any vehicles hardly a lot at all, but anyway. They have a lot of bike riders come in and they're parking in the hash marked areas because there's really no place to park bikes. So they were asking, since we allow them to use that county lot over there, they were asking if in that, there's one narrow parking spot, which the treasurer used to love to park in.
No,
Well, she tried parking in it most of the time, not successfully. She did good occasionally though.
I did, I failed every
Yeah,
one.
you get in there with her, and we cheer for her. Anyway, they would like to put a 5 or an 8 bike rack in there, and it would be so that the bikes sit this way, so it won't get into the hash mark area. So everything would be fine that way. And they were asking if we could possibly allow them to do that. With that said, we know that there's an ordinance somewhere, you know, because the sign says so,
Right.
that doesn't allow for bikes to be on county property, and that would be considered county property, even though we lease it to.
Yeah, the
And,
way it's
right.
worded is interesting. It says, residences, leased from the county, advice can be on.
But
Basically,
can we just approve that?
if you have
and
a
put that way?
general, want to move in that direction, what I'll do is look at the Terra lease and this ordinance and figure out how to make it happen.
Okay, could we do that? I see no, I see no reason within not to be able to have a bike rack there. It's a short spot anyway, and anybody parks in it blocks that access. So this would take care of that problem too.
Franklin Annex.
Then we lose our leverage to our parking lot over it.
Still like to do some more straightening.
Okay, we'll look at it.
I would too, but that's not gonna happen. I've tried. Anyway, if you could look into that. So I just want to make you aware of it. That was another thing that Mayor and I looked at this morning in our drive around. Now, public comment. Chief Powell, were you here just as a,
Well, my understanding was that
come forward, chief. Don't get to see you that often.
Hi. Jeremy Bell, Chief of White River Township Fire Department. So I had gotten communication from Director of 911 Communications that the commissioners were reappointing the advisory committee. So if that was the case, I would like to retain my position, and I was here because you guys were going to vote on this. I thought it would be good to be here.
Did you say budget committee?
No, but then I
Advisory.
want communications.
Which is don't know when that normally is.
Is it the,
I'm free to see maybe it's gonna take. It's not on the agenda today. But.
He emailed us last week.
Stephanie, you got any educating work on the advisory committee that you're?
I think he's bringing it next meeting.
next meeting?
That was all.
Hey, you know what, better late or early than never, right?
Exactly.
And I'm sure, I don't think anybody have a problem reappointing you.
Okay.
So.
Well, I appreciate it, and
Good to see you.
whether I was appointed or not, if I was asked to do it, I thought it would be nice to be at the meeting where you guys were taking that action.
How's the new school K-9?
She's doing really, really well. Yeah, she is very smart.
Never be a replacement, but it'll be an addition. Right?
Yeah, but it, won't replace Ruger or Gunner, either one,
No.
or Benny, but.
Never been able to do it yet. But it is nice to have another one, I guess. So
Yeah.
looking forward to the schools getting back into session and you guys going back to doing those programs. I'd like to get to see it again. So thank you for
We've
what
got
you
some
do.
good stuff going on. We've got good people that have taken care of us through this whole pandemic. We've got a bright future.
Johnson County is a great place to live.
It is.
If you're one of my says. Good people. Thank you,
Yeah, that
sir.
was my reason for being here. Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Betsy, I want to hear from you.
Thank you. I don't think. did I get
Can't make one of them upload my nose on.
Betsy Swearingen, Director, Johnson County Health Department. Ron, this should only take about an hour, okay? So, I'll speak quickly. We're kind of seeing I don't want to say we're seeing a downturn in cases, but they've slowed a bit. These next couple of weeks will be interesting. We'll see the fallout from Memorial Day, and then hopefully from some protests and stuff like that, we won't see any spike in numbers. A couple of areas that we should mention is that we, Dr. Mormon and I, sat in with the school commissioners to talk about reopening. I have a packet back there, it's about this thick. It's the recommendations for the reopening of our schools. So we are going to be working together to come out with a consensus on graduations. So we will be looking at everyone's graduation plan. We'll be looking at, and those do include, a few of them do include indoor graduations. So just giving you the heads up, we're gonna try to do what we can to make them as safe as possible, yet still let our kids get to enjoy what they've earned after 12 years, or I guess technically 13 if you include kindergarten. So, and then there is some other, this might get a little sticky, but new guidance came out from the state regarding the reopening of long-term care facilities to visitors. So right now, they're encouraging outdoor visitation. But we have known in the past that outdoor visitation still leads to the contraction of COVID and the subsequent deaths of 3 Johnson County residents. So it is our line at the health department that we believe it's still too soon for these types of things. I can't force these long-term cares not to allow visitors, but we will strongly caution against that at this time. And I know that there are a few long-term cares that are very happy that we're taking that stand because they're not ready to reopen, but they are getting a lot of pressure from their residents' families. So we just wanted to let you know how we feel about that and the message that we'll be putting forth. The governor has a plan in place. There's only a few more weeks of it left. I don't see why letting all 6 phases, go into effect and then we move forward from there. The long-term cares are our most vulnerable populations. They're the ones that need protected. Obviously, we've seen that in our numbers. So that's why we're thinking like we're thinking. Any questions?
Yeah, but I'll let it go.
No, good. Thanks for the update.
Like I said, we won't be stopping them. We just aren't encouraging it. Okay? Totally up to them.
Anything else? Public comments?
My hands are raised, I'll move for adjournment.
Second.
Have a motion second, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.